Hello and welcome to this week's Mastering the Markets with me, Matt. If you have not already met me in the past, I am a senior analyst at PrimeXBT and I'm super excited to be here with you for this week's session. So let's dive right into it. So today I'm going to be going over a bit of the fundamental side of things as well as the technicals. So we've obviously got a lot of tension happening currently in the Middle East. We kind of are anticipating what Israel's next move is going to be. And I'm definitely quite keen on seeing what might happen from there. Obviously, positive things are great. So let's see if we can find some sort of resolution, because as of right now, the markets are on very much edge because of this. So it would be quite curious. I'm quite curious to see if there is any retaliation, how the markets will kind of react. So definitely play your sort of risk as well as manage your risk according to that. Now, we also had some fundamentals come out last week that were quite interesting. And I'm specifically going to focus a bit on the sort of labor market data. And the reason I'm saying that is because we had quite an increase month on month last week. I don't know if a lot of you guys were paying attention to my Telegram group. I mentioned here that we had an increase on month of around 100,000 jobs that were added in. Now, this data result for me, it kind of seems that maybe this is a bit sort of overinflated. We had almost 254,000 jobs realized in the month of September versus what was forecasted at around 147,000. So for me, I'm not really too sure if these numbers are exactly true. So I'm going to keep my eyes out on any revision sort of announcements. Later today, we've got the FOMC meeting minutes. Now, they're not necessarily going to be cutting interest rates or doing anything like that in this meeting. However, we are going to get a little bit more clarity as to why the Fed cut interest rates by 0.5%. So definitely keep your eyes out on that information coming out later today. There also might be a bit of sort of clarification around the NFP data that was released last week. So definitely keep your eyes out on that announcement. I will definitely post anything if I see anything of interest. We also then have both core CPI as well as CPI data coming out tomorrow. Now, that is a very key data point to keep your eyes out on because of the Fed cutting interest rates the way that they did by 0.5%. We now need to turn our eyes towards inflation to see if inflation will continue to come down, or does inflation kind of stagger where it is or go back higher. Now, remember, the Fed only wanted to cut interest rates if CPI and inflation was coming down to their projected target of around 2%. So if we start to see some upward movement in inflation, that is definitely going to have an impact on both cryptocurrency as well as traditional markets. So keep your eyes out on that data result tomorrow. They're expecting CPI to come in flat month on month. However, there might be a bit of change. So let's just see what happens tomorrow. That data result is going to be quite interesting. And then on Friday, we also have PPI data coming out for the US. So there's a lot going on this week. There's a lot of sort of fundamentals to kind of cover. And I always like to kind of discuss this in the beginning of our session because I like to tie this in with our technicals, right? A good trader likes to kind of use both fundamentals and technicals to their advantage. So understanding a bit of the fundamentals can definitely help you position yourself from a technical side of things. And that'll definitely help you in finding some consistency within your trading plan. Now, let's dive over into the sort of technicals a bit more. I'm quite interested in looking at two things today. One is the Bitcoin shorts that I was showing you guys last week. And I'm going to be deep diving a bit into the crypto futures platform for that. And another interesting pair, which is one of my favorites, is actually euro dollar. Now, this is a foreign exchange pair, and I'm kind of interested to see something that I've been kind of writing up about, and I will share with you guys later in the technical analysis group too. So that's pretty much a summary of what I have in store for us today. If you guys have not already seen, we do a lot of market research for you on the PrimeXBT portal. Here I am posting daily sort of overviews into price action. There I'm covering different pairs from both a cryptocurrency as well as a global markets pair. So this can kind of help both cryptocurrency traders as well as global markets traders. Now, global markets, you can be doing anything between indice trading, commodities trading, as well as foreign exchange. So I'm trying to give you sort of ideas based on what I'm seeing from a technical point of view daily. And I think they're quite key to kind of use, and maybe you can use it, and maybe it's something that you're also seeing. So definitely go have a look into that. We also then have our weekly research reports, which are quite in depth, and they go through a lot of detail as to what is happening from a fundamental perspective. So definitely have a look at those. We have all of that information sitting out here for you. And if you want to obviously go and toggle to the economic calendar that I was showing you right now, that's under our tools section over here. So let's dive right into the technical side of things, and I'm quite keen to see if there is any price action we can potentially grab our sort of positions on. But we've obviously got New York opening coming in soon, and it's pretty much actually just open now. However, in the next 30 minutes or so, we'll definitely see a little bit more volume and volatility coming in, and that's because we have the stock market sort of opening then as well. So there's going to be a lot of volume coming in this session, so I'm quite keen to see how price action will trade. Now, this was a chart that I was showing and deep diving quite nicely last week, and I was quite curious to see how price action would kind of unfold in this area. And the main sort of reason I was looking at this area is because I kind of mentioned this, that we are like pretty much stuck in a range right now, especially on Bitcoin, right? We're kind of seeing price chopping between the highs of say $70,000, and then we kind of finding support at the lows of around $50,000 to $60,000. Now, I am quite in favor of going long. However, the reason I was looking at these potential shorts were kind of a couple of things, right? We had this pretty much the sort of supply area, if you want to call it that, where we kind of traded up into, we failed to break this high over here and actually continue into new all-time highs. So we kind of stuck in the middle of pretty much a rock and a hard place right now. And I'm quite keen to see if we can potentially come lower, maybe into say the 55,000 region or so, and then potentially look for longs back up into say new all-time highs. Obviously, a lot of this sort of prediction as well as price action is going to be very dependent on how the fundamentals play out. And obviously with tensions happening in the Middle East, that can definitely sort of throw things here and there. So definitely keep your eyes out on that. And I wanted to show you this a little bit more in detail today. So what we were kind of deep diving into last week was pretty much something that looked like this. So we had already seen this sort of a move outside of this ascending trend line, if you want to call it that. And I was pretty much quite keen to see how price would react when we came back into this area. So pretty much around $63,000 or so. And the reason I was interested in that is purely because we had this sort of head and shoulders formation happening where you pretty much have something like this, and then I want to kind of play something down like that going into the sort of lower support areas at around 55,000, etc. So this is what I was kind of showcasing a bit, and the reason I was quite interested in that is because if anything, I would like to kind of look at taking some potential shorts. So I had a couple limit entries that were filled. I managed to get out of them, and I actually want to kind of get back in again today, and I want to show you how I can do that on the futures platform within PrimeXBT. So it's a really cool platform, and I'm super excited to show you a bit about that today. But I want to kind of show you how you could have potentially also looked at executing something similar. And it is simply as simple as pretty much either putting a limit entry or actually waiting for sort of price to come back into that area, seeing how it reacts. So that's kind of what I want to show you today, and then sort of executing thereafter. Because obviously price can do pretty much anything at once. It doesn't necessarily have to come in this area, respect it and turn over. It could just continue higher and we do something like that. So if you're wanting to wait, obviously on the daily time frame, if you're obviously wanting to wait for a bit more confirmation, you want to see things play out in a different form before actually entering, this is what you could do. So I'll actually just show you how you can see pretty much how we came back into that area at around 63,000. We rejected that quite nicely actually with this daily shooting star over here. And then if you kind of look at where we are now, we haven't really moved out of that area quite aggressively yet. That's why I'm quite still interested to see, you know, if I was to take some potential shorts here, could we maybe get a bit more of a better risk to reward back down into the lows? And it's actually pretty simple how you would do that. So I'm going to pop over into the crypto futures platform now. So if you guys already have an account, that's awesome. As I've also done in quite a few deep dive tutorials now, I show you how you can kind of make deposits into this account. Obviously you would need to register in your own name, etc. And then pretty much the functionality of the platform, right? So if you have a look here, I'm on the account section, and this is basically where you'll see all your funding sitting. So for example, let's say you want to trade on the crypto futures platform, you're going to have to make a transfer out of this wallet, whatever your sort of funding is sitting in, and then you're going to have to move that out. So for example, let's say I would like to transfer $500. I'm going to trade this now in my crypto futures platform. I would then need to go and select the specific or desired platform in which I'm going to send it to. So if you click over here where it says to, you can see that we have a couple of options. Obviously I want to move it out of my wallet and I want to actually physically trade it. So then I would move this to my futures platform over here. And let's say, for example, I just want to send $500. I go confirm. Then you'll see that you'll get a little pop-up notification saying that the money has then transferred out of your account. Okay. And if you go over to your futures platform over here in the top hand corner, you will then be able to see that the funding will now actually reflect into this this account, right? So we've actually got Bitcoin loaded up already. If this is the first time you're actually logging into the platform or trying to use the platform, you can go over here on the left hand side. You can pretty much bring up any asset that we have to offer from a crypto side of things. So if you have a look here, I will just go and search whatever cryptocurrency you want to trade. And in this scenario, I'm going to actually be interested in trading Bitcoin. So this is pretty much how you would want to go and then actually find the ticker or the pair that you're looking to trade. And now in terms of execution, it's pretty easy. So if you have a look over here, we've got obviously this nice little widget, which you can obviously use to either market order, limit order, or stop order. So last week I was showing you guys how you could enter into some sell limits. That was basically on the basis of around 63,000. And I'm actually waited for a little bit more confirmation out of that area. And so for today's example, like this daily confirmation that I'm getting out of here now would actually be something of interest to me. So for example, let's say I would like to go and short, say 0.15 worth of Bitcoin. I can then go over here where it says margin type and I can choose. So if I would like to either use cross or isolated, I personally like to use isolated leverage, and then you can obviously go over here and change the leverage based on however much leverage you would like to put into your specific position. So for today's example, maybe I'll just ramp it up a bit to show you how the difference works. I'll do it on 10x. I'll go set. Now, because I've set the margin and the sort of margin type, that doesn't necessarily mean I've entered into this position. So what I'll actually need to go do now is I'll need to go choose the desired order I would like to place. Remember, I don't actually want to be in longs right now. I'm actually wanting to go short. So then I would select the sell side function, right? And if I go place order now, it will then say, do you want to place this market order? And I will pretty much go confirm. And now all of a sudden you'll see that in this position, I am now running the short on Bitcoin, right? So for example, it's quite an easy tool to use. And if you have a look over here, you can go and modify your stop loss as well as your take profit. So the easy way to do that is you can either just grab and drop this function over here. So let's say, for example, I would like to put my stop loss above those highs over there. I then go confirm. I simply say select set. Now you'll see that my stop loss has actually gone above that high. It then pops up a little function that says $700 or USDT. Now that basically means that if price actually starts to trade against me and we go higher, I will then get stopped out for that position, right? So that's pretty much how I use my sort of stop loss as well as my take profit levels to kind of manage my risk. Remember, trading is all about kind of preserving your capital as well as playing the probabilities, right? So that would have been how I would have set my stop loss in this scenario. Now I'm just going to show you how you would do a take profit. So let's say, for example, I would like to trade down into, say, just a simple 1-to-1. That basically means that my sort of take profit would then obviously need to be around $700 as well. And the reason I'm saying that is because if you think about it logically, if I am risking $700, right, I would like to at least make on the opposite side 1R, which kind of would then tally to about $700 in terms of reward, right? So you can do that by simply either using the take profit as well as the stop loss function that we have built into the platform, or you can use the trading view sort of stop loss, short position tool as well as the long position tool to kind of calculate that for you. I kind of like to just calculate what the risk is going to be involved based on that. And let's say, for example, you don't actually want to hold the stop loss all the way to the position of say around 67, then you can simply just drag and drop it, right? So every time you move it, it'll ask you, do you actually want to do this? So let's say, for example, I actually wanted to move my stop loss up a bit, then I can simply go and set it. So then it now will actually reflect say $65,000 worth of Bitcoin. That's where if price trades to $65,000, it will now take me out for $455, right? So that might be a bit of a better risk to reward to someone like you. For example, you're always wanting to try and look for minimum 1-to-1, but at the same time, you want to be optimal in the way in which you take your profits. So I like to go for a minimum of say between 3R, 4R, something like that. So at least going 2-to-1 and higher than what you're risking. And pretty much I will let this position run and do its thing. And if you have a look here now, if you look over here where it says positions, you might not be able to see it because my face is there right now, but at the bottom left hand corner you will see something that says positions. That will tell you the position that you're running in, right? It's quite an easy function to use, and it will pretty much give you all the details around your entry price, where you're going to get liquidated. So if you have a look here, it says that if price goes to 65,500, I actually don't have enough margin in my account, so I will get liquidated, right? What does that mean? Well, in simple English, basically it just means that when price goes to that area, you actually cannot afford to be in the position anymore. So the broker, and in this scenario PrimeXBT and the platform, we will automatically take you out of the position to protect you from any further losses, for example. So that is how a liquidation price kind of works. And then obviously you've got your leverage. So remember, I changed it to isolated times 10. Now you'll be able to see what kind of leverage you're in. Maybe you made a mistake, then you can quickly go and cancel this order. The way in which you would do that is actually quite simple. You simply click where it says close, and then you can fully close this position over here like that. And then you'll see all of a sudden I'm no longer in this position, right? So that's pretty much how you can enter into some shorts, for example, based on an idea I had running. Let's say, for example, I wanted to maybe get a sort of higher entry. So let's say if price comes back into around 64,000, then I can have my limit entry set there, right? So what does that mean? Obviously, if price is currently trading below an area that you're quite interested in, you would obviously need price to go higher, specifically if you're wanting to short the market before you can get entered, and then price goes in your favor, right? So this is quite a simple way to do it. Let's say, for example, I actually just wanted to take an execution at around 65,000 because I think that maybe we could actually pop back into here, run this high, and that kind of ties in with 65,000. Then what I would do is I would place the sell limit entry, and then obviously if you have a look over here, you can pretty much now see that my position is set. Now, this won't necessarily be an active position. So if you go over to where it says orders, there you will see the limit that you've placed, right? So that's pretty much how the limit and the market function works. It's really simple and easy to use. If you have a look here now, for example, I will only be triggered into this order if price starts moving up. So if we start to, in the short term, start to trade higher, say into the $65,000 region, then I will get entered onto this position, and then I would look for something to kind of roll over like that. So for me personally, I'm actually going to leave that sell limit entry over there, or you can pretty much split it up in two different ways. So let's say, for example, you wanted to have a higher entry as well as a market execute entry. You can run both positions at the same time. That's fine. So that's pretty much in the summary of like how you can enter into say both a market as well as a limit entry on Bitcoin itself. So let's pop back into euro dollar, and now this is something I wanted to show you, mainly because we are kind of dropping out of this ascending trend line over here. And I actually mentioned this a bit in our sort of technical analysis research articles, that I was quite keen to see when we were pretty much at these highs back over here around the 25th of September, I was quite interested to see how sort of this resistance area would hold up. Now, we pretty much had a run of this liquidity area over here, which kind of lines up with this sort of key psychological level of 1.12. Now, you can pretty much see, since we kind of tagged into that area, price is kind of just unraveled since. So if I play this for you, you can pretty much see we've had that nice aggressive short sell out of that area. And we pretty much, I was kind of looking to see, okay, we have this, obviously this quite clear and evident third touch of a trend line sort of acting as dynamic support, if you want to call it that. And normally in situations like this, you would kind of expect a bit of a rebound in price. However, we haven't really failed. We have kind of failed to hold that for the time being. This could be some sort of fake out of this trend line area here. So for example, if you have a look here, we could actually just be temporarily trading outside of the support area. However, there is quite a lot of space to come down if we do start falling, right? So for example, you would have something like this as your support area here. You obviously then have a support area sitting down here at around 1.08. So there is a lot of room for price to trade. And I want to show you if, for example, you were actually looking to execute on some short positions, maybe into lower sort of areas, how you could do that on our actual CFDs platform. Now, remember, I was showing you how we could trade Bitcoin on the futures platform, and the CFD platform is a little bit something a little bit different. However, it's basically the same way in terms of transferring and navigating to it. So for example, let's say you're actually quite interested to see price come a little bit lower. I would then hop back into my platform. Now remember, you can't trade a foreign exchange pair on the crypto futures platform. You're going to actually have to flip over into the CFDs platform. So before you can do something like that, actually, you're going to probably have to make a transfer into that account if you don't already have. So for example, if you have a look at where we have our main wallet account sitting, you will then see I've got my current balance, same as how I showed you earlier. And if you want to then make a transfer into your CFDs platform, all you would go and do is select the CFDs option over here. So for example, let's say I want to transfer 500. I will then move it up my wallet address, and then you will be able to start trading in the CFDs platform, right? Remember, if you don't have any margin or liquidity sitting in your account, then you're not going to be able to execute any position. So it is essential that you understand that you need to move funding from your wallet address into the desired trading platform account that you would like to use. So obviously we have two scenarios. We've got both the CFDs trading platform as well as the crypto futures platform. So now I'm in the CFD side of things, and it's pretty similar to how the futures platform works. You've obviously got your charts that's set up here. You can obviously then see your positions running, as well as any positions that you might have taken in the past. So for today's example, I want to show you how you can potentially trade some trades on, say, euro dollar. So if you have a look here, we've got three different options: CFD, crypto, as well as forex. Yes, you can trade crypto on our CFD platform. However, the CFD section, that is pretty much a summary of our commodities as well as our indices. And then obviously forex is specific to any foreign exchange pairs that you might want to trade. So for example, I will go and search over here where I can find euro dollar, and I'll just simply click on it, right? I'll change my time frame out here so you can pretty much have a better understanding of what I was looking at. So if we flick back to the trading view side of things, let's say for example, I actually was quite interested to see if price can continue to trade lower. I would look at some sort of short example, maybe based on the breakout of this, my stop just above here, and let's see if we could maybe target something down here lower, right? Now that would be pretty much how I would want to maybe test the sort of break retest of the trend line, right? This would be your sort of most recent high, where if say price starts to trade back above, you don't really want to be in this position because this could be a potential fake out, right? So if, let's say for example, price kind of trades lower but then fails to hold, and we start kind of going higher again, you don't necessarily want to be holding this position above this high at 1.12. So that's pretty much a summary of how I would maybe go about executing something like this. You could even maybe move it up a bit to say 1.1. And pretty much if I have a look now on the CFDs platform, how would I go about doing that? It's pretty simple. So you can choose the desired volume that you would like to over here. So let's say, for example, I would like to just sell 10,000. And then if I go over here, you'll see that it will calculate the margin impact for me automatically. So what does that actually mean, right? So pretty much you've got one of two options, right? The first option is you can actually just market execute it and manage the position as you desire. But I don't really recommend doing something like that because you're not necessarily going to be watching the charts all the time. So there are going to be scenarios or instances where you're actually not going to be able to get out of that position quick enough because maybe price will just move overnight. Say, for example, when you're sleeping, or maybe you're working, or you're busy, whatever it may be. So what I like to do is I like to use the sort of stop loss as well as take profit levels. And that's pretty much just my risk management side of things. So how would I enter this position now? It's pretty simple. I would like to enter market execute. So that's not necessarily me, say, looking for a desired price in which it needs to go to. I'm just quite interested in executing on the spot at this specific time. So where would my stop loss need to be? So remember, I showed you briefly that, let's say, for example, I was entering a short now. I would want to have my stop above that high, which was at around 1.1. So that will kind of then automatically calculate for you what the actual stop loss value is going to be. So it's basically the same way in which the crypto futures platform works, but just on the CFD side of things. So let's say, for example, you don't actually have time to execute this order and you want to just simply market execute, and you're not too worried about sort of calculating your take profit and stop loss, then you can simply just market execute the order. You go confirm, it will then say order filled, right? And then you'll have your position running over here where it'll say, okay, for example, this is the amount of contracts that you've sold. This is the full price that you were market executed at. This is current price. And then it'll give you your estimated stop loss as well as your take profit, right? Now, those are two key points that we're going to have to go and modify now because we didn't actually do that when we were market executing right there and then. However, there's another nice function that kind of shows you your rolling P&L. So where it says P&L, that is basically what current price action is doing right now. That's basically telling me that I'm actually running in a loss of $1.6, right? So if I wanted to go and now execute this, let's say, for example, I want to modify this position. I just double click on the position. Let's say I want my stop loss to be at around 1.1. Then I will have that sort of automatic calculation telling me how much I'm going to lose at that specific rate. Then let's say, for example, I would like to take profit lower at a lower level. Let's say I want to now flip back into, say, my charts. And let's say, for example, I want to trade a 2-to-1, or I want to trade, say, back down into these lows of around 1.08, right? Then I will just simply take this this short position tools data. I will then go and manually input that over here. So I want to then take profit at, say, 1.08. Now you'll see, okay, cool. This position running, it will give me a estimated stop loss of, say, $47. And if price actually gets to my desired take profit level, I will make $152, right? So then I go modify, I go confirm, and now you'll see, if you have a look over here, this is quite a cool function. If you have a look here, this will pretty much tell you how many contracts you are running in. And that red line that's going across there is showing you your entry price, right? So you can kind of gauge if price is obviously below your red entry line, then obviously you're in a profit. If price is above that, then you're obviously running a stop loss, or you're running maybe a sort of short-term loss position, right? So how do you want to maybe visualize where that stop loss and take profit level is? Then you simply click on where it says plus SLTP, right? So if you click on that, it should then show you, never mind, I'm not doing it correctly. But in this scenario, you would then want to go and actually modify, there we go. If you have a look there, so you double click pretty much on the 10,000 lots section, right? It will then tell you where your stop loss and your take profit level is through the green sort of indication. And that pretty much is the same sort of way in which the futures platform works. you can pretty much then modify it based on dragging and dropping these sort of functions the same way. So let's say, for example, I don't actually want to modify that entry. Let's say, for example, I wanted to zoom out a bit. I would then double click on here again. Let's say if you wanted your stop loss to be at, say, around 1.2, then obviously you can drag and drop it to wherever you want to. And let's say, for example, you would then want to go above that high. You would then need to confirm that, right? So when you are playing around with the sort of position size tooling on the actual charting platform, it's not going to do it for you automatically. It's always going to pop up a function to say, do you want to actually confirm what you're doing? So for example, if you have a look here, this will then tell me, okay, cool, I would actually like to modify my stop loss to that level. I then get another function saying confirm. Okay, and then if you go click over here, you'll now see your stop loss above there, right? So it's the same for take profit. Let's say, for example, I want to drag and drop this a little bit further. I would then do something similar that looks like that, right? So that's pretty much in a nutshell how you can execute on both our CFDs platform as well as our futures platform. Let's say, for example, this position that you're running now on euro dollar is actually something that is not of interest to you anymore. Maybe you want to get out of the position, say half of it. Then it's quite simple. You just click on where it says X, right? Then you've got a little function that pops up and it says, do you want to close this position? Now it'll obviously tell you the amount of contracts that you want to close. So in this scenario, I enter 10,000. So if I would like to close my full 10,000, then I would just leave it at 10,000. However, let's say, for example, I just wanted to close 5,000. Then that pretty much will show you a little calculation over here. It will say, okay, cool. If you close this now, you're going to close at this specific stop loss area. And then obviously you're going to only close a portion of the contracts that you're in, right? So let's say I confirm this now. That means that I'm out of that position by half, and I still actually have half of the position running, right? And if you wanted to say get out of this position fully, then you pretty much do the same thing where you close and you confirm. So it's really easy to use. It's a simple platform to use. Those were kind of the trade ideas that I was looking into. I think that they are quite key in terms of understanding a bit of the technical side as well as the fundamental side. And then obviously it's quite key to understand how you can go about executing on our platform. So I did a bit of a summary today showing you a bit about what's happening today in the fundamental space, what's kind of happening on the technical charting side of things, how you can kind of combine those two together. And then obviously the third and most important part, for you to obviously try and make money in these scenarios, you would need to then go and execute on the actual platform. And in this scenario, you could either do it through the crypto futures platform or the CFDs platform. So thanks for tuning in to this week's Mastering the Markets with me, Matt. Super excited to have everyone here, and I'll see you guys at next week's session. So have a great week trading, and I'll keep you posted on any updates that I see in the Telegram group. So bye for now.